Hi there, welcome to the channel. It's Daniel Sellers. I'm going to get straight to it today. So you're a dad, you also have ADHD, or you struggle with focus in some way. Is it going to be still possible for you? Is this book going to be still worth your time? That's the question. So David Goggins Never Finished. Let's start with an overview. So in this book, his previous book, Can't Hurt Me, was very much focused on a lot of his past. It was very in-depth about his past and his trauma. I mean, it was still good and there was still some philosophy in there, but this book is more focused on practical life lessons and philosophies, as well as some of his stories that intensify that. I've personally enjoyed this book. My experience with it has been, I have learned that it's really highlighted to me that goals aren't achieved without discipline. And ultimately, there's actually something he says in the book, and that dreams die in suffering, right? When someone is comfortable, when someone is inspired, they set all these goals and dreams, and then when suffering comes, when it gets hard, when the going gets tough, that's when they often give up on these things. And I can absolutely relate to this myself. I'm someone who's set loads of goals and gone around in many circles. Now, I think, especially with ADHD as well, this is a common thing. It's hard to make commitments and things. So what we're going to try and do is think about how we can apply this to entrepreneurship. And I'll tell you how I've sort of gone about applying it moving forwards. So first of all, if you want a full summary breaking down all the life lessons in this book, I do have a link in the description where you can check that out. But the main thing you get from this book is the importance of exercising discipline. And I think it is still relevant to those that have ADHD. However, many people these days are rejecting it and saying, people with ADHD, discipline doesn't work for them. And that is true to a degree. If they haven't done the first steps before that, then it's not relevant. Okay, so you have, let's just say we have 3 dots here. The last dot is the discipline component, and that's what you need to maintain and keep things going and persist over time. You're going to need some discipline, right? And commitment's going to come with that. But then before that, you have structure, and that's where you have organizational systems and things that allow you to hold that in place. And then before that, the first dot, which is the first step, is your brain performance. You have to start with that. If your brain performance isn't there, if you've not done the work to set that in place, then you're not going to be able to get to that last one of having discipline, because your brain's not in the capacity, right? So what I'd say is this stuff is useful. And just to let you know, David Goggins has ADHD. I'm not saying this stuff isn't useful. However, it does depend what you are doing and what other things you have already installed. Like what I'll say as well is David Goggins' thing is fitness. He's really big on fitness, and he says this in the book. He's not so big on the business side of things. Now, when you're looking at entrepreneurship, is it relevant? That's where I'm going to get into mental tasks and complex tasks are different to physical tasks. At least with my experience having ADHD, physical tasks, fitness, it's easier to discipline yourself to do those things than it is to discipline yourself to do complex tasks that require cognition, creativity, and consistency, etc. So it is definitely, it needs the right strategy, and you need the right systems in place, right? But ultimately, there are some useful lessons in this book that you can take away. Ultimately, this book is a fairly cheap price. I recommend you get it if you can afford it and you give it a read. There's some good, useful lessons in there. If you would like a free book summary, I have put a link for that also in the description, along with a link for this book on Amazon. And then finally, if you would like to join our community, I have set up a community specifically for people who are looking at being part-time entrepreneurs, people who have a very busy lifestyle, but they want to show up in their life. And ultimately, the idea is that we can come together and we can share ideas and we can support each other moving forwards. Again, it's a completely free community, so go and check that out. And if you enjoyed this video today, you'd like to see more content like this, you can hit subscribe and follow for more moving forwards.